Okay, I'm trying to learn a little bit. Baruch Mati Asurim, Baruch Hashem, two hostages were freed, and it's very sad for this. I think some soldiers died in the operation. Shavah, the Sham Shavah Ali and your family Shavah Yeshua. Baruch Dayna Hamas. Okay, we're going to learn a little bit the mimer of Elam Mishpatim. It says like this: Ve'elam Mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem kisik nevadivrit. It's two psukim, first two psukim of the parsha. So the Rebbe says, "V'soch l'havin d'lifneihem mashma rabim," plural, in front of them. V'chisikna is lashon yochid, is singular, and if he's talking to them, havle l'meimar, it should have said ki yiknu, if they would purchase, if they would acquire, plurally. Achinin, the kisikna kal Moshe Rabbeinu Hasham. The part of the pasuk that says ki sikna, these are the mishpatim you should put in front of them, the Jewish people. But ki sikna, when you will acquire an evidivri, he's talking about Moshe. The kaidil ilmine, and it's going on what it says before. Hainu al mashakosiv elam mishpatim mashar tasim. When it talks about these are the mishpatim that you should place in front of the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu Hasham dafka. It's talking about Moshe. Yasim ha mishpatim lifneim. He should put the mishpatim, the mitzvahs, before the Jewish people. How does he make it before them? We'll see what lifneihem means, not just before them, but lipnimiyusam, internalize with them. That's through making a kinyan in the evidivri, making a acquisition in the Jewish slave. The nichsiv, because we find it says in Akev, I will give grass, animal feed to the animals in the field. The Moshe is seemingly talking about himself, that he's going to give animal feed to the animals. He's going to give Esav grass to the animal, to the cows, to the cattle. The Indian house. So why is it saying that Moshe is going to do it? If someone's giving it, it should be Hashem. The Indian. So to understand this, but basically we're going to get to the part of the Marmor that we're going to learn is that there's Zera Behema and Zera Adam. There's animal souls and human souls. And the human souls, so to say, they have a very deep connection with Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu elevates the animal soul to have almost in par a connection to Hashem, das, understanding, knowledge, awareness in Hashem on a much higher level than they would be limited on their own. And that's basically the idea of kisikna eved divri. Moshe elevates the eved to have a kinyan that he or she should be able to serve Hashem properly in a higher level. But in the Chsiv it says, "V'zarati espeis Yisrael." I planted within the Jewish people zera adam, a seed for man, and a seed v'zera behem, a seed for animal. Sheish beis madregas min shamas Yisrael. There's two types of souls. Ha'alef, the first type, is an neshamas hagavoyis moed, very high, powerful souls. V'mayil madrega, in their level and their elevation. Behem hanikroim zera adam. This is what's called the animal soul, or the animal seed. Shehema neshamas, these are the type of souls. Shenimshechu mibchinas adam elin shalakisei. They're like the image of man, meaning of Hashem on the chair, of what Yecheskel saw in the chariot. So like man has intellect, so too these neshamas have intellect. The chsiv nasa adam bitzalmeinu kidmuseinu, to make man like our tselem and like our demus. So the tselem, which means basically like a form in the way that just like Hashem, just like Adam is in full form, which means with intellect. Kidmusenu is the dmus, the characteristics, but not in all respects. But in Neshamas Atzilus, this is referring to the higher levels, the Neshamas that come from the world of Atzilus, meaning that as they are, their souls light the light of Atzilus, the oneness of Hashem is clear to them. And that's like the level of Banim. They're like sons, children. Mashen Kain, Neshamas Debriya, lower souls. That means that their unification with their level of unification with Hashem in their consciousness and their awareness is, or even lower in the world of formation, in the world of action, Asiya, is they're called Avodim. Avodim is not like a child. And that's why we say in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Im Kevanim, Im Kavadim. If either we're going to be like children or like slaves. Some people are like children, some people are like slaves. That's in general. But in particular, we talk about that there's a voida of every person to have the avoid of a ben and the avoid of an eved, both to have the service of a son and of a child to a father, and also the servant of a slave to a master, servant to a master. So what is unique about a person? What's the idea of Adam? That nasa Adam mitzalmeinu, that the tzelem, the exact kind of replica of God in this world, is the level of the souls, the way they are, the souls of Atzilus, which is the level of man. But what is the idea? What is the uniqueness? What is special? Sheish ledas. It has knowledge. He has understanding of Hashem. Kach elu anashama. So too these souls. Yesh them das godol belikus. He says great knowledge of God, and we'll explain what das is. Das is the certainty, and not just the certainty, but the outcome of the knowledge, the excitement. Therefore, upirish das. What's das mean? Ein rasulemer hayidilavad doesn't just mean that you know the facts. El b'chinas hargosha mamish, you actually feel kamoish Yisparah is going to explain. So that's one. So one level zera adam, the higher level of souls, and those are the souls that have das gedoyle in Hashem. Ba'abei is the second level of souls. So b'chinas zera behema, that's the animal. B'haino nishamis dibiyah, those are the souls that are in the world of separation, and therefore their oneness with Hashem is like yesh mi'ayin, something from nothing. It's not the absolute certainty like in the world of Atzilus. Shehem kamat kol and neshamis shebedereseinu. These are like the souls, most of the souls of our generation. Kamat kol, this is almost all of them, are lower level of souls, meaning they're souls of the world of Biyah, where it's a creation from Hashem. The world of Atzilus is mamish. They feel the soul as they exist in this world. They feel they're alive with God, and in the world of Bria, which is even harder than the world of Asiya, is most today almost probably not even in the world of creation, the world of action, which action is very separate from feeling, from das. But nevertheless, even the world of creation is still not, is like a behemoth, like an animal that doesn't have the das. It says, Ki neshamis atzilus heim b'nei aliyah, because the souls that come from the world of Atzilus, that the souls means every soul goes from is a chelik of the kami mal mamish. It says in Tanya, every soul is from Hashem. There's no difference where the soul starts from. It's how low is the level of consciousness. It means where you start from your root, and then you go through as a process. Where does that process end? If the process ends all the way in the world of Asiya and action, so your consciousness of Hashem is much more limited. If the soul is from the world of Atzilus, so even though it also goes through the tzimtzum, through the contraction, and it's not exactly the way the soul is first comes from the chelik elikai from Hashem, but still tahirahi, it's pure. It's before Ata Barasa, like we've learned many times, and therefore that's its consciousness. Its consciousness is God and its vessels and its light is all one. But he says, but that level is only b'nei aliyah, only the highest people. They're very few. I feel even in the early generations, it wasn't like all the people in the early generations or a lot of the people in the early generations. There were few, full stop. Very few of those people lived throughout creation, throughout time. But the animals of Bria, of Behema, they don't have so much das in Velikus and Hashem. Because it doesn't mean that their information, their seichel, that they have is lacking, that they don't know about God. They have mind, they know, and they understand. They have comprehension, they comprehend, and they can have intellectual conversation with themselves, with his boinus and all. The greatness of Hashem, not just his existence, but his greatness, Yisbarach, whether it's peace for him, knowing it from books or seifrim or scribes, meaning whether they learned about it, hasaga, they have a comprehension, a great comprehension. How Hashem gives life and created everything. And not only that, they recognize that to really understand God's greatness ain't chaker. It's not possible. One can't have a chakira. One can't possibly understand God's greatness. It means they understand that God is great. But all that they know doesn't come to das. It doesn't come to hargosha, to feel it. It's abstract information. Hargosha benafshe. The difference between a neshama of atzilus and zera adam, zera behema is not the information. It's how you apply the information. That's why it means they're like an animal. Shebehema yesh la riyo shmiya, but animal also sees and hears. Rak she'ein la das, it's lacking the hargasha, the feeling. I'm not talking about feeling if you're going to hit it, it's going to hurt, but the feeling of the consciousness. Kachu bechinas neshama seilu, so too the neshama of behema, of bria and downwards. She'ein behem bechinas hadas belikus. They don't have the hargasha, the feeling, the das in God. Shadasi bechinas hagasha, because what is das? It's not the information, it's the feeling. Because you know something, it means something to you. Because it means that when the intellect becomes tied down, v'nikva, b'nafshe kilu magish, you mamish feel it, it becomes wedged in as if it's something real. Ki das miloshan, the word das is va'adam yad, a man knew. She bechinas iskashus v'ischabrus, means to connect to the idea. Like it says in Mibsari, that when a person analyzes themselves, and they actually see God. It's not just that it's a concept. As if you actually see Hashem. So he goes, what do you mean to see Hashem? He's like, you can't physically see Hashem. On a regular basis. It's as much as a person knows that their soul exists within them. You don't see your soul, of how it looks or what have you. You know it exists, you feel it. You see the vitality, the very fact that you're alive, functioning, is proof that your nefesh exists. And when you sleep, it gets less. When you wake up from your sleep, you get revived. That's how much you understand Hashem. So the souls of Atzilus, the Zera Adam, that's they just like you are alive, that Pasha they know. It's not information that I technically know I'm alive. I know I'm alive. You don't have to argue. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm alive. I woke up. I was sleeping. I woke up. I'm functioning. I'm doing things. If this soul leaves my body, the body doesn't disappear. So the existence of my body is not proof that I'm alive. My body stays. Whatever. It starts to dissolve, and after a while, it'll be just bones. But the second I'm dead, my body still exists. It's not my body that's alive. My soul is in my body. That's why I'm alive. Even though we say that there's no thought that could grasp Hashem, the essence of God you don't understand, but doesn't mean you don't understand that you don't feel that it exists. But Hashem's existence is to these souls of Atzilus is known and felt. Just like a person, if a person can analyze and see the world as a big body, and it exists like the body. And what is the life, the force of creation, of this big body of creation, is the infinite of Hashem, that's like a soul in the body. So too Hashem fills the world, and it is its existence. Everyone knows this. So the Zera Adam is not different. The tzaddik or the neshama of Atzilus is not different, that he knows this. Others know this too. But when you're mamish connected to the idea, that you feel it, mamish ki'ilu raya zeh nikra debechinas das. That's das. That you mamish as if you see it. It's so real to you that Hashem exists. And this is why the verse, the Mishnah says, Ezu chacham, who's the wise person, that sees what's happening. You see the creation. The birth is the creation. And this is what it means. Hashem stands over them and they were able to see. So that's all the nefesh. But when a person doesn't have this feeling, the hargesh, the das, then it's a behema, meaning you have all the information, but it doesn't translate anything to you, or it doesn't translate enough that you should feel it. Of course, you could have a huge mind, you're smart. No one's saying you're not smart. No one's saying you're even lacking information. And then not only that, like the Rebbe says, On top of the fact that you have information, you're a Jew, and a Jew by being a descendant of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov has the natural amun and Hashem. V'gam kol Yisrael ma'aminim. All the Jewish people are believers. V'amuni hi l'mayla min hadas. And amunah, believing in God is high, believing in God's existence is higher than the das. Das is internal. You feel it. But a yid, that's why why would a Jew die in an act of self-sacrifice for Hashem? Is because of their because of their knowledge, their amunah in Hashem, their belief in Hashem. But that's not the feeling. That's not the das. Torah, it's considered an atar like a crown. That's external. In the Maimers, the Rebbe says that Mesiras Nefesh itself is das. But it's das the way it's revealed, that the person actually gets a level of consciousness of their connection, that at the moment of Mesiras Nefesh is when the Amunah transforms from Amunah to das. And where's the das? The fact that you're ready to die for Hashem. And therefore the Rebbe says, because Mesiras Nefesh is kind of triggered by Amunah, because you believe in Hashem, therefore you have das, you mean you're ready to die for Hashem. So if you're just going to die for Hashem, then it's still limited. But if the Mesiras Nefesh awakens within you that you want to live for Hashem, that's the Maimer of Ata Tetzava, that you want that it affects your days, even in good days. You're still bothered by the fact that there's lacking revelation of godliness. That's a proof that it really permeated you on the highest level. But the Amunah itself that the person has before it becomes revealed into Das, or transferred from. That's why we say about Moshe Rabbeinu is Rai Mehemnya. He feeds the Amunah. What does it mean he feeds the Amunah? He takes the Amunah that's abstract and makes it real. But the Amunah on its own that a Jew has is the Mainim Das, is higher than feeling. But it's from the outside. But you have to have Das that the Amunah should become real to you. Know Hashem your God. Know Him. When a person has Hargasha, there's nothing that conceals. The world, which is hell and concealment, doesn't conceal godliness anymore because it's clear to you. You have das. The Gama Ava Shehiba das, and therefore it's not just the knowledge of it. That's the feeling. The feeling starts to give birth to proper children. That's the children of the love is a proper love. You can't compare the love that comes from proper das and the love that comes from just Amunah. And so to fear of Hashem because of das is real. Because when you see it, the love and fear are different to when you hear something, and the hearing of it creates love. When someone loves something or fears something, from hearing about it is much less than the love and fear you have or awe that from seeing it. Like he says, he brings down the example. It says in Pirkei Avos, Pir Shriya. What does it mean to see something? Based on Ma'amar Zal, look at three things, and you won't come to Nevera. What do you mean look? It doesn't mean just need to know it. It should be real to you. Histakel dafka uses the word histakel. Bechinas Shriya bein haseichel means you use the visual through your mind. When a person knows with their understanding, a person knows something good or bad is about to happen. Even if it's not happening this second, because his mind knows clearly it's going to happen, good or bad. It's as if you're seeing it happening, and therefore it translates into response. It's already happened, and therefore, and therefore, if something bad is about to happen, you become very scared. And if it's something good, you get very happy because you're so certain, it's so real to you that it gives real response. But if you only hear, someone tells you something's about to happen. What does it mean? What's the comparison? Even if you're telling yourself through contemplation, but you didn't see it. You think about God. Even if it's with deep thinking. It's as if someone tells you something's about to happen. So the response, the fear or the excitement is not as much as when you see it. It's not so real to you, even though you have this blindness and you heard it and you understand it. But and therefore the year and aver are not the same. Therefore, he said that when you have das, then your love and fear for Hashem is different. Because alpha pishim is boinin by any kiloray ben famish. Even though you contemplate it, it's not as if you're seeing it. This is what the Tana says. He's stakel b'shleisha dvarim. Look at three things. It should be so much clear to you, like you have your ayin roya, your mind that sees it. You can see it even if it's in a distance, and therefore the Mishnah says you won't come to do an avera. Hey Ariel, who's a wise person? That sees the future and sees that it's going to happen. If it's just that someone told you, you understand it, but not through seeing it, then it's only understanding. What does it mean you understand? You know that Hashem is one. And all the worlds are nullified to Hashem. You know this, but it's not enough. It's like you understand it. It's not the ayin roy. It's not the eye that sees. That's still not das. The Alter Rebbe is going to go into in a second that the das is not just the riyah, the seeing, because even seeing, that's chachma. That's not das. Chachma is seeing, and bina is understanding. Das connects the chachma to the bina. That because you see, you can't just be abstract. A person who could see and be abstract, that means there's no das. So even it's not just because you have bina, because chachma itself is chachma. Then it wouldn't be das. It's chachma, bina, and das. So he says like this: like it's known about the oneness of Hashem. Even if a person contemplates in it very deeply, and his thoughts are totally preoccupied in the oneness of Hashem, and he has belief in Hashem wedged into one's heart. As long as it's just that it's like hearing something and understanding something. It's not as if you've actually seen it. And what's the outcome? What's the difference of understanding and seeing? Not just in the type of love and type of fear, but also as long as if you hear something, as long as you're not distracted, you could pay attention. But as soon as you're distracted, then it goes away because it never permeated you. If you stop thinking about it for a second, the effect right away goes away. And therefore your pleasures could kick in, and therefore you could give into your pleasures. That's why the Tana says the only real way in the Mishnah to stay away from an Aveira is not to have Bina. You have to have Chachma, you have to see it. Istaka, when you see it, you'll never forget about it. When you see it through Chachma, it's a source of the understanding. You don't even have all the contemplation. You don't even have the details. It's like your eyes see it. There's no way to be distracted from it. Or how you feel from it, from the oneness of Hashem, because you saw it. And you have an absolute connection. You saw with your own eyes. That's what happened by Torah. They saw the voice. They saw what was understood. They saw what was heard. But after they sinned, they no longer had the visual. And as long as they had the hearing, therefore they were able to sin further. So Nimsa turns out, Chachma is to see, and therefore it's certainty. And Bina, even though you know it's certain, but you know it through hearing it. And therefore, that's why it says, a witness, a judge can't become a witness. Why can't a judge become a witness? Because he can't hear anything else. You can't tell a judge that maybe the person didn't kill the next person. I saw it. No argument here. But when the judge only hears the situation, even if he's hearing it from witnesses, and the Torah trusts the witnesses, because the certainty is not 100%, so therefore he could maneuver, and we don't know the outcome of the psak. But it's known that Abba Chachma is Mekanin, is in Atzilus. That's the world of Atzilus. That's where the Zera Adam is. Ubina, and understanding, is in Bria and creation. And therefore he says they're like behemoths, they don't have visual. Because it doesn't have the certainty, the clearness of what a Zera Adam has, the Neshama of Atzilus, which has Chachma. Hashenken Neshamas Asiyas Sham Gali Bechinas Chachma Uriya B'Nikra Zera Adam. Now, so seemingly the difference between Adam and Zera Behema is just if you see it or hear it. So why don't we stop there? What's das then? We still didn't get to das. We just got to Chachma's certainty. When you see something, it's like a person, a judge who watched someone, God forbid, commit murder. It's clear what his judgment's going to be, unless he doesn't hold that murder is wrong. But if murder is wrong, and this person murdered someone, right? Today we find that people could do horrible things on October 7th, and the judges will say they're not going to find them guilty. But I'm saying, but if you saw it happen, and you understand that it's wrong, so then it's wrong. There won't be there's no room for maneuver. But that's still not das. So what's das? We have chachma and bina. This is the chiddush of the Alter Rebbe. What is the middle? You connect the chachma and the bina, what you see, to understanding. That's das. So seemingly, das is just to help the bina, the understanding. But because he said before initially that chachma doesn't have all the details of the bina, so even for the tzaddik also has to go through the process of bina, of understanding what you saw. But if the understanding is based on because you saw it, then the das forces the conclusion, and not just the conclusion in your intellect, but the conclusion in your emotions. That's the main thing. Das ulashon iskashrus. Das means to connect. Like it says, Adam yada, Adam nilchava, which means they connected. This is the point. How do I make sure when I see something that I should respond to what I saw and act on it? Because even a person could see something, right? A person can see horrible things that happen. People watch videos of horrible things that happen, and their conclusions are not right. Why? Because they're not margish. They don't see it. They don't feel it that way. So he says, that it connects to the depth of your heart. Not just in the chachma, but you're in understanding. If it was just understanding without the das that connects the chachma to the understanding, so the understanding would be limited. And it would just be thought. It wouldn't permeate you to your core. But it won't permeate your heart how you emotionally feel about it. You want to have a yearning, a burning of the heart. Then you have the das basically is the voice in the person that says you saw something crazy. The example, for instance, given is let's say in sports, someone does something spectacular. Right? We have many sports players who've done spectacular things in sports. So there's always expression, you would have to have been there. You'd have to have seen it to believe it. Someone jumps high, or someone does a shot, or Tiger Woods hits, or someone hits a golf ball then in a way that's out of control. No, it's very hard to do. You could hear it, and someone describes it to you, where the person was standing and how he did, and the weather and all that, and you understand it, but it's not really resonating with you because you hadn't seen it. But even if you've seen it, okay, so I saw it. So someone did a good thing. So someone did an amazing performance. How do you to respond to what you've seen, and then to bring into bina and to permeate you? That's das. It's not just enough to see. The das is the connection between chachma and bina. So for the person who has the visual, even if you have the visual, you need the das. That's a much stronger das. That's what's called das elyon, a higher understanding. Mamish, because you saw it. So therefore, the das is running on a much stronger proof. And but even the chiddush of Moshe Rabbeinu is that he's able to bring the person who's a behemoth, doesn't have the visual, but should have the outcome, the das, as if you saw it. That's what a Rebbe is. What's a Rebbe? Rebbe's not here to when someone says, why does a person go to a Rebbe? Because you on yourself, you're lacking das. You're lacking a developed das, a feeling. You can't respond properly to information. It's not. Why do I need a Rebbe? Everything says in books. Sure, it says in books. Therefore, what? What does it mean to you? How do you connect to what you know? That's das. A yearning of the heart, that your heart should get lit up with vekis and you should cleave with what you're thinking about. That you should come one with what the ideas of the oneness of Hashem. That all the responses, all the ways your body functions should function in a way of its knowledge of Hashem, right? If a person has any part of their being that has its own agenda, right? That means that there's not like I've been permeated, my mind's been permeated with God, or my heart's been permeated with God. But I want to be able to go where I go, or I eat when I want to put foods in my mouth, or have relationships with whoever I want to. These are things. Why? Because that's separate. So it doesn't mean that you it means that you never properly permeated the whole being of yourself. Because if it really have das, it should permeate every part of your existence, with kol chushay gufa, in all the functioning of your body. And zehu nikras das. That is das. So das is not the chachma. When he said before that the visual is the zera, the tzaddik. The tzaddik, because the tzaddik has visual, therefore his das or her das is based on what you've seen. So because you've seen it, it's much easier to connect it. But you still have to connect it. The das is something that has to happen. Moshe Rabbeinu, the chiddush of Moshe is kisik nevadivri. That's what God tells Moshe. That Eila Mishpatim Ashatasim Lifneim, take the commandments of Torah, you have to put it in within them. And how do you do it? Kisikni, you have to make an acquisition in them. You have to change. You have to give them das, even though they don't have the visual. That's so hard. How could you give someone a response as if they've seen something if they didn't? Only Moshe Rabbeinu could do that. There's V'zeu Nikar Das. Who goyim sheyichaber b'chinas chacham lebina. It makes that the chacham should go to bina, and therefore bina is where it creates the emotion. Bina is in the heart. But you have to take what you've seen and permeate it into the heart. And Das is screaming, why aren't you getting excited about this? Why isn't it permeating you to the point that he's tackle b'shleish advar, when you see the things of the world that you don't say, how can I do anything against Hashem? Or why am I not constantly trying to figure out ways to further my connection to Hashem? So that the understanding is connected to the seeing, and therefore the feelings, the outcomes, you become a live feeling person of what you've seen. Again, you could go to a sports game and see an amazing thing, but if it doesn't matter to you, even seeing something spectacular is not going to affect the Jewish people. The question is, he said a statement before. He said that the Jewish people saw by Matan Torah the Chachma, they saw God. And then it says, after they sinned, they no longer had the visual. There seems to be a contradiction. Because how did they sin if they saw God? How did they make the golden calf if they had the Chachma? And he's saying, because they sinned, so therefore they didn't have the visual, and therefore they continued to sin. But because they didn't have the visual, but why did they sin in the first place if they had the visual? Because vision enough is not enough. Vision itself is not enough. You have to have the das. They didn't have the das of Matan Torah. They saw Matan Torah, but they didn't have the das. Because they didn't have the das. Therefore, when it came something like the story of the golden calf, they built a golden calf, and afterwards they were no longer able to see. So therefore, they no longer had the ability even to have a das, that the das would help on their own. He says, Bechina zer Adam, what is the zer of a man that we said before? The seed of the tzaddik, of the person of Atzilus, that has the visual. Not so much that they have the visual, because the Jewish people also saw the Matan Torah. But do they have the das? Because they have the visual, they bring the das to connect what they've seen to how they feel about it. The point is that they're able to take what they've seen and bring it to the contemplation and to create an emotional response. That you really see God through analyzing yourself. You have to analyze yourself. It's not enough to see. You have to use your hisbonenus, and you have to have excitement. Das demands a response. Das is if you have healthy das in a person, it means, the word das means knowledge, but we translate it, the Hebrew word of das is knowledge. Knowledge is not just really knowledge, it's consciousness, awareness. It's alive. That if this is what you saw, how are you just sitting down and relaxing? How are you not getting excited? How are you not trying to do something about it? He says, it's to take the chachma, what you've seen, and bring it to an understanding. You don't have the das because you don't have the riyah, you don't have the visual. So therefore, you need to have at least the see, and then the das gets excited to connect what you see with how you feel. But if you didn't see it, so then there's no even basis for this das. To bring the chachma, then all you have is your understanding. and your understanding is so limited, like a person who listens to something great that happened, wasn't there. So it's even if you try to get excited about it, but you don't really see it. That's like an animal that doesn't have proper hargosha feeling. Even though a regular animal obviously is not on the level of a person, even if a person is lacking spiritual visual, lacking vision in their spirit, in their godliness, but they're obviously not exactly an animal. So the Achmasha is just an example. An animal also has imagination. So too, the zera behema, the person who has a soul of an animal, so to say, which is a person that only hears something, doesn't have the visual of it. It's only you can only imagine it. Imagine it. Okay, so how excited could you get for imagination? Some people have a better imagination than others. That's what the verse says, that God initially created people like that. It's Salmenu and the Tselim, an exact image of God. They have the visual. But Kidmusenu, it's only a dimyon, it's only an imaginary. And this is what we say in the Shir Hamalos that we say, and we're going to say when Mashiach comes. We were like dreamers. Just like in a dream. The dream is only functioning on imagination. That's why we learned in the Mimer, logic doesn't need to take place in a dream. Things don't have to make sense in a dream. How did I go from here to there? How did crazy things happen in my dream? Because it's raw imagination without logic. But the person, the higher level, the tselem, the image of God, the person who has the image of God, that's an idea of visual. But this das that a person has, the zera adam, the tzaddik, so to say, has, the person that has absolute certainty, visual of God, so that is, then their das is on a high level, because it's connecting what they see with what they feel. What's a lower das? That's if a person also has to, not just enough to feel it in your mind and have be excited in your mind about it, but also has to trickle down into actually your feelings and your actions of chesed and how you act kindly to people and how you, because of that, have limitations and beauty and all the different 7 attributes. That's connecting the mind with the heart. So das connects both the chachma and bina, which is within the mind itself, and then it also is the idea of connecting your bottom line of your intellect with how you emotionally respond to that. Well, primus amidus, and the das connects the mochin, the logic to the emotion. It becomes the internal of the emotion, the basis of the emotion. Why do you love someone? Why do you want to be kind? That even later we're going to learn that even das tachton for a person is also called adam, and we're going to learn what that means. I'm just going to go a little further. He says, and this is what it means to answer the question. Moshe Rabbeinu had tremendous power. Meaning, I don't mean power. It means he was his ability to interact with people, to bring out certain potential that could be very hidden within a person. Moshe was fantastic at that. That's what it means, koich gadol. He's able to bring das to the Jewish people, even to the level of so shenikr zer behema. That's the chiddush. And Moshe Rabbeinu takes a person that doesn't have the vision, so therefore it's if you just have bina understanding, so what's the das connecting? Das gets excited at what you saw, but you didn't see it. So how could it start getting the ball rolling, so to say, in the bina? They should have proper connection to Hashem. That's Moshe. Moshe takes what he's seen and connects what he's seen to your das, to your understanding. That even a person on a lower level that sits in the world of separation, doesn't see God clearly, that they should still be able to connect to Hashem in a way of das and feeling and godliness. That when the pasuk says das, know Hashem today, you really know it, not just know that He exists, but know it in a way of feeling, like we said. Das elikei, know Hashem your God. Skip the parentheses. It says Ki Moshe Rabbeinu. All of Hashem Nikrai Mehemne, He's the faithful shepherd. Echad HaMiyuchad Meshiva Roim, from the most important of the shepherds, the 7 shepherds. Sheroim Mefarnes and Neshamas Yisrael B'Hashpa'asei Leim Moyach Das. He gives them the ability of das, of hergish, to know the excitement, and therefore that goes into the bina, because the bina is where the place of understanding, that the understanding should be real as if you've seen it. That das, as if it's mamish, the das that's created from vision, Moshe gives to the Jewish people. He takes the emunah, like I said, and again, there's a component here. Because the Jewish people are descendants of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and as being descendants, like it says in Tanya, every Jewish person has a belief in God, and therefore, when a person is questioned with their belief, are you Jewish or not? Convert out of Judaism, God forbid, or I'm going to kill you. A person could live their entire life not a Jewish life, not a religious life, not a life that they care about Hashem. But there's some, the emunah, their natural belief a Jew has kicks in, and therefore they say, no, I won't do anything to separate it from Hashem. Because really a Jew is connected. What's lacking is the chacham, is the vision of it. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu takes the emunah, not just the fact that we are connected, and the belief that we're connected, the belief in Hashem. We have a belief, but the belief is something you believe. It's not something you see. And from the belief, he makes the belief so real that it's as if you see, and therefore you have das, therefore you have excitement and your feeling of Hashem. And therefore he says, and therefore any redemption comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the first redeemer and the final redeemer. What's redemption in a person? Redemption in a person is that you could start to feel things. That's real redemption. It's not just that you're no longer a slave in Egypt, but you're no longer a slave to Egypt's ideas, to the limitations of the world, the Meitzarim. He's able to give the flow of das to the Jewish people. You're going to know that I'm God. What did Moshe say? I'm going to give you das in Hashem. The people believed before Moshe came, and therefore they believed Moshe. And so too when it comes to time of Mashiach, it's there that the whole world is going to have knowledge, das in Hashem. Behind the lisa das kam ich nesoyve kol ma shein kim begilus Mitzrayim alpha bishnim bechinas vidayta yom hu bechinas malaklam. And he says, the Rebbe just says, the Alter Rebbe says, that the level of knowledge that's going to be in the time of Mashiach is going to be much greater than the knowledge we had in the time of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, we knew about God within creation. In times of Mashiach, we're going to know a level of knowledge that's even beyond creation. And the Maimer continues to say that that's the idea of Moshe, that he gives grass to the behemoth, to the Jewish people, and therefore he gives them the ability to have proper das. And he finishes off the Maimer. He goes, this is what it means that this what does it mean that these are the laws that you should place in front of them. That how does a person become a person of movement with the das, with the understanding in Hashem? It's not just that you stand still in this information. It permeates a person through Torah mitzvahs, through when a person learns the laws of Torah, which a mishpat is. The mishpat means kehilchas sakat ma'isa. The initial laws, what's a law? Law is halichas olam lo. The movements within the world is through the Torah, because Torah Hashem the essence of God is connected with Torah, even though we may not understand it. So Moshe Rabbeinu takes the pnimius, he takes the mitzvah and he connects it to the essence of the Jew. That's not just the Jewish person's learning the law, but through the law it connects to the essence of Hashem that's placed in the law, and that makes that's so to say the vision that you have. That's the basis of the das. Moshe has to. It's not enough because we don't see Hashem. So because they're lacking some of the components, he takes everything together. He takes the mitzvahs of Hashem. God tells Moshe, take the mitzvahs, and through the mitzvahs, you're going to be able to give the people das. All right, we can't learn the whole Maimer. It's a long Maimer. I just want to stop here. Baruch Hashem, we got part of it done. Laila Tov, everyone. Hashem, see you next week. Again, Baruch Matir Surim, great news for Jewish people. It should only be Simcha in the month of Adar, and only great news. Laila Tov. Take care.